back again. It's the Zwift Insider Tiny Race Series, man. It's the November 11th to 25th. I do this one at 10 o'clock in the morning Eastern Standard Time, which is, I think for them on their website, is the 9 a.m. race. I used to do the 5 a.m. race, but it moved back to 4 a.m., and that's just a little too early for me. I normally wake up about 4. I didn't want to start waking up at 3 o'clock just to do a race, so I switched myself down to the 10 o'clock in the morning races to give me a little chance to wake up. In fact, I did another rooftop at 6 o'clock in the morning before I did these 4 races at 10. And it was a great thing. Now, this series is about the rise of R. Howard. This is a new Frenemy now. I have normal Frenemies. I think mostly I haven't seen Tandem. It's because he's normally in the 5 a.m. races. I didn't look to check and see if he was in there today, maybe because of the holidays he's missing. But Tandem, you see this, man? I'm doing the 10 o'clock more now because that 4 o'clock is just, I had to wake up at 3 o'clock to start doing them races, and I just didn't feel like waking up that early here in Eastern Standard Time. So with that, let's get into these races. So this race, man, I got lucky. I hit start right when the race started. I almost forgot to hit start. I didn't realize I hadn't hit it. Now, this is the rise of the R. Howard race in front of me. He's somebody I've been racing lately. I'm gonna put it in here eventually so y'all can see it because he is my new frenemy on here. And it's kind of nice to have frenemies, man. There's somebody, you know, they give you advice on this or give you advice on that, and they race now. When I do find somebody like I show right here, my frenemy, BB is #1 of all. I've only beat him 2 out of like 10 races, and man, I'm just being honest with you. He comes at me hard whenever we race, and I kind of search him out when I can, or we race at the same time, so I look for him. That was exactly what happened with this one. I was happy to see Roland had already signed up for this. Roland, I can call him Ron, sorry, man. Roland had signed up for this, so I thought, well, let me go and back the name in the hat early in case someone else want to race with me. So a lot of times you put me as a friend and you follow me. Trying to sign up for like these tiny races. Sometimes I try to sign up for races about an hour or 2 ahead of time, especially when I know I can truly make the race, so that if somebody wants to race me or want to come look for me, you can. So if you ever want to race with me, I do these tiny races every Saturday. I think my time, I'm Eastern Standard Time, so it says 10 o'clock. But I think that when they look on the Insider Races, when you look on Zwift Insider, it's the 9 o'clock race or wherever you at for that race. Just look for it, and that's what the race I'm in. So as we racing this race, it was a good race. I tried to set the pace. In fact, I was texting in my message with them that I was going to set the pace for them because I knew I went and looked at the Zwift Insider page, and that's where you can go find the details on these races. So if anybody's looking for details on these races, you go to Zwift Insider page and you can find the details on these races, which I was looking for finally, and I looked up and found them, and it felt good. So in this race, I tried to set the pace with this thing, and you can see roughly Roland is right behind me most of the time on this thing. He is really good. Now, I found that more experienced riders know how to race me. Andrew, Williams, I give it to Tandem, BB, and even Roland now has figured out, you know, a lot of times they know I pull the pack, so they'll sit behind me and get pulled along with me, which causes me to start thinking different ways about pulling the pack and when do I pull the pack. If you notice, a lot of times I'm starting to sit, even with this, I was sitting with the pack for a while until it get close to it. I knew it wasn't no significant heels on this. In fact, on the Insider, it said this was going to be a flat race. Now, as we get too close to the end, I always slow them down because, you know, it's just, especially when it's a fight at the end, and we get to the end, and I was determined that the rest of these races I knew were going to be kind of hard. And when I read about the races, I was like, this is going to be one of my best bets to win one of these. So I took off on this thing, and then I just went on ahead and shot at 200 meters, and I knew that was what I was going to need to do to get ahead on this race, and that's what I did. And as we come to the end of this one, we'll get ready to head into the next one, and we're going to start there. Now, if you're watching me now, the second race, oh man, I led the race for most of the race, and you're going to understand why heels are the great equalizer in races with me with these types of races. So I'm gonna go ahead and start this race off. Actually caught it at the right time, so let's start this race off. We got 4, 3, 2, one, and we're off on this one. Now, as you can see, I started this race off in the pack. I'm not powering up no more where I take off and try to hit these outrageous numbers taking off. All I have to do is come off the line evenly with everyone else. So that's my goal now. As we race this race, this is, I want to say this is maybe the second longest race of all the races we had that day. And this one was pretty, no, would it be second? This might be second longest. I think number one was the longest, second longest, and then we have a next short one, and then we have another mid-range one. So this is the one that, when I took off on this one, I was thinking it was going to be a smaller climb at the end. And this thing really, really surprised me. And being honest, I was not ready for the end. I was looking at Howard behind me, so in my head, I'm thinking to myself, I may be able to, I'm gonna be honest, I was thinking to myself, I may be able to win a second one. And as we take off, I'm thinking, okay, cool, there is a hill at the end of this one. If I can get, and once we get close to 2 kilometers in, I was gonna start speeding up a little bit more. And so what I do now is about 1.5 kilometers in, I try to get up to about 80%. Then at 1 kilometer left in, I go up to about 90. With 5 kilometers in, I try to be about 90, 95% till I get down to 300 meters. And then once it gets down to 200 meters, I try to put all my power in. So as you can see, I'm starting to put a little bit more power in because of that 2 meters. So I'm running about 85%. And I think in my head, I'm doing pretty good. I'm pushing my power up there. And I'm feeling really comfortable. And I want to really say that because I raced I hit the rooftop like 3 hours earlier, my body felt a lot looser when I came into this race. So as we're coming down to the end of this race, I'm thinking to myself, at 5 kilometers, I'm just gonna start really pushing it. You see, I have like a 3-second lead, and I'm thinking, okay, cool, maybe I can finish this race off at about 2, I'm thinking to myself 2 or 3 place. But once that hill hit 8%, 8% is where it really kills me. I can put in all the power I want, but as you can see, the hills, when they get that 8%, are great equalizer. And in this race, I went from number one with roughly 300 meters left to, I think I ended this race at 25th. By the end of the race, I stopped putting all the power in. I was just climbing the hill, trying to finish the race, conserving energy for the next one. I realized it was a losing battle, especially since I didn't hit the hill right. I was just going to be putting a lot of energy in to stay at like 8 miles an hour, 9 miles an hour, so I just slowed down on this. So let's get to the next race. Now we're on to the third race, and on this race, this is one of the maps that I have. You saw I had 2 victories against BB. This is one of the maps that I had a victory against him. The other one was, I want to say it was the Rolling Hills, where I timed it just right. And I used the timing of that race that I used for BB. This is the same plan I used to beat him. So I used that same plan on this race, and it was a winning factor for me. Let's get into this race. 4, 3, 2, 1, and we're off. And as you see, like I said, I'm not trying to power through these beginning of races no more. I don't want, because what happens is you take off, it's kind of like a sprint, and then you kind of calm down after. Well, if I just take off and kind of gradually calm down, that's what I thought I was doing in this race. So as we were riding, I decided that once I started seeing what the race was, I kind of remembered that this was one of the races of the 2 wins I got against BB. This was one of the maps that I used to win on. So what I decided to do was just ride with the pack on this first round, because this is actually like 2 laps, but the intro to the first round is very long. So that's what we're in right now, is the intro. So what I do is I decide to stay with them. I remember at the end of this race, there's kind of a hill climb at the very end, but there's a dip. When you make that turn, it kind of slingshots you into the hill. So I knew that once we come around on the second lap, that there was going to be a dip, and at that dip, I was going to have to start trying to make a pull away on it. Now, this is what they wanted me. A lot of things have been suggested when I was running the rooftops is pull away from everybody at the on the flats, and then when I hit the hill, I'll be fine. The problem with that is the hills take so much more power to get up that I need to kind of stay a little lower coming around on the flat. So what I ended up doing on the first round of that race was just stay with everybody like I'm doing here. Just stay level with everybody, stay in the pack. You see me slip back to 20 because of the hills, but as long as we're back on flats and going decline, just kind of stay with the pack, and that's what I did. So as we come back around on this second lap, I get that boost right there you saw at that corner, And with that boost, I just kept climbing. And my goal was not to slow down. So I knew that this race was small enough that the power numbers really wouldn't count as much against me. So I just kept putting it in. And I decided just to keep my pedals up towards 100 for the rest of this race. Now, it's a little exhausting, but I thought, well, if I could do that, that would make this a lot easier of a race. And as you can see, as I did what I thought I was doing, which I did with BB, I caught him on that corner right there back earlier, and that dip, and it slingshotted me up the hill. And once I did that, I just kept pedaling to keep the power up, to keep the speed up, and that's what I was trying to do. See, like at the end, there's a sharp turn that kind of slings you up towards that 5% climb. 5% climbs are pretty good for me because I don't lose a lot of energy on them, and I can kind of hold steady. So that's what I did. Now you can see they slowly catching up to me, but by now I'm so far ahead it really doesn't matter, and I win this one. And I'm gonna tell you what, the idea of knowing what's going on and what races you're in will really help you. Let's get to the next one. We're on the last race now. You're gonna have to watch this race. This is the best race of all of them. The last race is the best race of all these races. There's no way I can say anything else bad about it. These races, these last ones were an excellent race. So we're gonna get into this race. And the other thing about these races that you need to know is always know what races you're running. Because for me, that made the difference in this race. Knowing which race I run, and I thought I was on the wrong one. Let's get started. 3, 2, 1, and we're off. Now, as you see, I took off on this race. I thought this race was a totally different race. It's one where you have a gravel hill climb at the end, and that's what I thought this race was. I thought I saw somebody say something about gravel bikes, and I deserve everything I get on this race. So as you see, I thought well picked. I got 2 wins in. I came in 26th or 25th on the second one. There's no way I'm gonna win the whole series. I thought, well, let me just ride this ride out. And as we're riding, I started noticing, okay, we're gonna make a couple of rights and lefts, and then we're gonna go up the gravel mountain. And I'm looking for the gravel pit because I'm thinking that's what we're gonna do. And shortly, as I slowly ride this ride, I look up and I realize, oh man, there's no gravel pit. This is the other one. This is one where I challenged BB on. He barely beat me on, and I thought about it. Oh man, can I get back up in 27th spot? I'm like, can I catch back up? So now I start, as you can see, I'm burning in because I'm like, okay, this is a totally different race. And I catch up, and I knew you only get one feather, so it was important not to use my feather too early. And I see people using their feathers, and I catch back up, and I see Roland is up in front of this thing. And I'm looking at this race, and I'm like, okay, cool. I caught back up, and I said, you know what? I may actually be able to win this one because I know what it is. I know I've come in close to it before, and there's a lot of dips in this thing where they got declines where I can put in time to get ahead of everyone. And as you can see, we go down a dip, and as we come down, I'm at 50, and I'm like, okay, I'm at 50 kilometers. I know at some point, I think I can get this thing up to 60. If I can hold off them off back of me as I get it up to 60. You see it comes up to 60. And I'm trying to super tuck, but it's just coming out of the tuck spot just early enough. So I hit my feather here. I should have waited, but I hit my feather here because I'm thinking, as long as I don't let them get too far ahead of me, the last run, I know what it is. I'm thinking I can do it and get through that. Now, what the problem was, I burnt too much at the beginning of the race trying to catch. But if I had stayed with the pack, this would have been a totally different race. But I decided that I was just going to lackadaisical go through this race, and it cost me. So as we come up on this last little hill, I'm thinking, okay, I see Ron, but I'm thinking I got enough time to beat him. And as we come around the corner, Ron comes out of nowhere. And I'm out of energy. I used too much to catch back up with them. Oh man, this was a great race. Thank y'all for racing with me, having fun on this race. I had a great time, great series. Ron, you are the new Frenemy enemy. We're going to be battling a lot, man. See y'all and ride on.